want to optimize your camera to capture a portrait at night, you'll need to know how to set the night snapshot mode, how to set the aperture priority mode, the night flash or the slow sync mode. You might need to use the flash exposure compensation and the manual focus as well. And as always, you'll need to set the white balance. Let's start with the night snapshot mode. Turn your mode dial to SCN. This stands for scene, and with this mode selected, in the back you can choose from different scenes. Use your control dial to move until you get to the night snapshot mode. There's the night snapshot mode. What this mode does is use a slow enough shutter speed to expose for the ambient light while using the flash to illuminate the subject in the foreground. What this mode will not do is use a shutter speed slower than 1/8 of a second. It does so because it knows you're hand holding the picture and the subject might be moving. Try this mode first because it's really easy to set up. However, if this doesn't work out, let me show you how to further customize your camera. Set the mode dial to Aperture Priority. That's the AV setting. This allows you to set an aperture while the camera selects the appropriate shutter speed. The reason why you want this mode is because this is a portrait after all, and you want a shallow depth of field. In the back, set the aperture to f2.8. Use your control dial to move the value until you get to f2.8. Remember, the only way you can get to f2.8 is if the camera is zoomed back all the way. If you zoom in a little bit, you won't be able to access 2.8. If you have to zoom in, that's fine. But because we're dealing with very low light, you want a 2.8 aperture. Set the flash to slow sync. Press the flash button right here, it's the right navigation button, and choose the slow synchro option. What this does is fire the flash, but allows the camera to still select a slow enough shutter speed to expose for the ambient light. Depending on the distance of your subject from the camera, you may or may not need to use the flash exposure compensation. To do so, press the function button right here in the center. Go down to the flash exposure compensation icon and use the control dial to move this orange dash across the bottom of the screen. If the subject is far away, go ahead and increase the power of the flash. If the subject is closer and the flash is too bright, you can decrease the power of the flash. The first shot I normally take at 0 to test whether the flash is too strong or not strong enough. Press function to escape the function menu. Depending on the amount of ambient light, you may or may not be able to use the autofocus. Sometimes the camera has a very hard time focusing in low light. If the camera can't find a focus point, go ahead and press the MF button. This stands for manual focus, and this will get you the manual focus gauge. What you can do is use your control dial to move this gauge up and down until you get to approximately the distance between the camera and the subject. Usually I set this to about 5 feet and then make sure my camera is about 5 feet away from the subject. You'll notice that now, anytime I move my control dial, all I set is the manual focus. In order to change that and go back to the aperture or the metering mode, I just press the metering mode button. Now I can change the aperture. If I press it again, I'll change the metering mode, and a third time will get me back to manual focus. Once these are properly set, go on to white balance. Press the function button to access the function menu. Go up to white balance. You don't want this set to auto white balance. Move over to flash. This way the subject will be properly color balanced. Go ahead and press function to escape the function menu. And now you're ready to take your picture. My manual focus is properly set. My aperture is set to f2.8. My white balance is set to flash. I can go ahead and press the shutter button halfway. Once the camera is ready to go, I can press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture.